So
Mm.
can you talk about for just a second, sort of the
Mhm.
mindset that went into making the decision to become a coach? And then what did you experience becoming one?
Okay, so to be really honest, I had been thinking about coaching, but I didn't be a life coach, and I didn't feel I could because I wasn't living my best life.
Okay.
I said, "Guess what?" I said, "I did, I got certified as a coach," and she went, "Oh, who's your business coach?" Right away. And I said, "Business coach?" She went, "Oh, you didn't think you were going to like build a business on your own, did you?" And I said, "Oh," and I didn't miss a beat. I'm not. One thing I am is not slow. And I went, "Got it." And she goes, "Well, I could coach you on that." And I said, "Who's your coach?" And she went, "Ah." I hired her coach. In fact, her coach was hired before I even spoke with her. I'd
You
already
hired
decided,
her
okay,
coach.
I hired her coach. I wanted somebody better than her.
Oh, that's
Get it?
awesome.
I figured she goes, "Oh, you're not dumb, Mike." There's so much when you just asked that. I thought, where do I start? So the number one, whew, um, the number one thing is this: all people want is to know what is in it for them.
Okay.
How, and I mean that in a good way. I mean, all they want to know is, how can you help me?
Mhm.
How can you help me? How much is it going to cost me? And is it going to be worth it? That's all they don't care about all those bells and whistles. All they want to know is, I need help. Are you the one? Show me. Are you the one? How much?
Did you know there's a technology that's actually an app on your phone that uses sound waves to tell your brain what you want your brain to do? We had a young man that was on a guest on our podcast, the Mike Litton Experience, who had a traumatic brain injury. He was sleeping 3 hours a night. He's using NewCalm now and he's sleeping more. Go to newcalm.com, Mike15 promo code. Newcalm.com, promo code Mike15 for an extra 15% off. Go today.
Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience podcast. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. Mike is passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
Jeanne Omlor, thank you so much for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience. I'm super excited for our time together. And like we talked about before we hit record, everybody has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. So with your permission, we're going to start with where you were born, go up to today. And then we want to talk about these amazing things you're doing, coaching people into super success and helping them to change their lives. Thanks again for being here.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here, Mike. Thanks for having me.
So where were you born?
I was actually born in California in the Bay Area.
Yeah. What town?
I was born in Redwood City.
Okay.
And we lived in Menlo Park.
Oh, wow.
And I'm from a family of 10 children. And then when I was about 7, we moved to Australia. 12 people moved to Australia. Yes. And I grew up in Perth, Western Australia.
The rest of your childhood?
Yes. And then after that, after I finished college and worked for a couple of years after college, then I lived in Europe for 8 years, 6 of which were in Paris.
Wow.
And then I moved back to the States, to New York in 1998. And I've been here ever since.
Wow. So growing up in Menlo Park and Perth, Australia, what was your favorite thing about growing up in each place?
Well, Menlo Park, like even now, like my brother just visited it. It just has such a cool vibe. And even before Silicon Valley, which was just starting, it always had that nice, airy kind of vibe. It has a different smell. The weather is amazing most of the time. We did have a very slight winter. I remember these slight winters we had. We were never freezing cold. So just the energy of California, actually, I just love. And whenever I go back to California, I'm like, yeah, this is California. What did I like? We had pretty, till that age, I had a pretty carefree, lovely childhood. It was very moving, created, there's stress with moving, and it's like another country. And, so we were just like, normal every day, pretty easy going, like, idyllic childhood, right?
Right.
Then we moved, and that creates all sorts of stuff because you're moving across the world. You got another culture, a different way of speaking, same language, kind of. It was very backwards. It was very, very backwards. It was like in those days, it was like, somewhere in America in the 50s, small town in the 50s.
Yeah.
So there was like, when we moved there was no television during the day. It started at like 2 or 3 p.m. And there were 3 channels, and it started at 4. And then they'd have an old British show called Bulldog Drummond on it, this, and we were like, what? And, this, the programming was like nothing. And then they'd have something else, and then a local, very cheesy show, and then the news. And that was like it. So, just that. And, it was just very behind.
Little culture shock.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was. Yeah. And also just the culture, the Australians are different, and they'd never seen Americans before. We met maybe one American in years. And then, later on, maybe if we'd been in Sydney, but where we were, I met one American guy. He was a half American kid in the same school as mine. I said, "You're American?" He goes, "Well, I'm half American."
Wow.
And I remember when I went to school, and I was about, I would have been 11, I think it was. Yeah, we switched schools. And when I went to school, people were whispering and turning around to look at me and going, "Oh, she's American." It was like I was a Martian. It was the weirdest thing. They had never seen Americans. They just saw American shows. "Oh, is it American? Oh, she's American." They were just thrilled. They were like touching me. "You're American? Wow, that's so exciting, an American." It was hilarious.
Wow. Like being a rock star.
Yeah, exactly. Just by being American.
So growing up, who was the most influential person to you?
I'd say my dad.
Yeah. Why?
Well, I mean, both of my parents, actually, they just did whatever it took. They were very faith-based. They practiced their faith. They were really serious about that. They moved us because they didn't agree with what was going on in the Vietnam era. And they also didn't like the fact that a lot of people around them, the kids were getting into drugs.
Mhm.
So they were like, "Whoa, okay, this isn't good." It was the whole Manson murder era as well. And they just said, it's kind of in the hippie era. And they just said, "Why don't we go somewhere where it's quieter?" So that's why they moved, was for us. That was for us.
Wow.
And, none of us ever touched a drug in our lives. So it worked. And basically just doing whatever it took, showing up. My dad, just worked for the family. So, and my mother, obviously, was all about taking care of the kids.
Mhm.
So I think it was just, the principles that they voted with their feet. We don't agree with this, so we're going to move 12 people across the world. Like, who does that? Because of principle. We don't agree. Okay, so what do we do? Well, let's change something. So I think that message of you do what it takes to get what you want in life, that I think premise had a lot to do with my success.
Yeah.
That you don't just accept, you don't like it, move.
Yeah.
People always say, "You're going to complain so much, just move." They did. They did. And it was, people were like, "What? You're going to move all the way to Australia?" Yeah, we had one book about Australia. That's all we knew about it. There was no internet. There were no shows on Australia. They bought a book and said, "Hey, kids, let's read this. This is about Australia." So we poured over that book. We thought kangaroos were going to jump down the street everywhere.
And they didn't.
No, I mean, some places in Australia, if it's the country, yeah, they are jumping down the road, but, not in the middle of Sydney, that's for sure.
I got you. So what did your dad do for a living?
My dad actually used to work for Stanford Research Institute. He was a very brainy mathematician. So he worked for SRI for quite a few years, and he was also an operations research analyst. So yeah, pretty smart guy.
I was just in Stanford last week.
Oh, well, SRI's right around the corner.
Yeah, I was invited to come up and do a toast to toast a group of 48 public speaking students from, or a group of 48, but 39 of them, I think, were public speaking students from Stanford. And it was really cool. My son and his girlfriend, my son lives up there and works up there. And they were able to come and hang out with me. So it was cool. That was awesome.
Yeah, my dad lived there when it was mainframes. I mean, he worked there when it was mainframes. You know how big those
Yeah.
computers took up a
Entire
whole
buildings.
huge-
Yeah.
And they did less than, what our cell phone does,
Mhm.
which is quite funny. It was huge. And they spit out that paper you see in the old movies of the paper
Mhm.
being spit out, with the little holes on the side.
Yep.
Yeah. And we used to draw on that. That was our drawing paper for years. We had stacks of that paper with the little holes on the side that
Mhm.
had the punch that you could pull it off. And they were
Right.
great drawing because it was this big. And we could also do very long drawings. So
Mhm.
my brother used to do Jack and the Beanstalk, really long drawings that would be all the
'Cause they're
way
all
across the
connected.
house. Yeah, he would undo it and be this long beanstalk with the computer paper.
That's so
Yeah,
cool.
so that was part of our whole like art supplies.
I love that.
Mm.
So in a high school, did you have a favorite subject?
Um, I liked literature,
Mhm.
which is not a big surprise because I ended up one of my careers was I was an actress,
Oh,
which is all about literature. So I've done a lot of things. I don't know if you know this, but uh, I went to college for fashion design. I was a fashion
mhm.
designer and I worked in that industry for a little bit. And then I was like, I really wanted to be an actress. So I just started traveling and was, taking different acting courses. And I did like Shakespearean theater at University of London. It was a smaller course. Um, yeah. And then I became sort of like a bohemian type. So I lived in Paris and I lived in an attic room and I was teaching English and I was doing my acting and I was translating and I was working for a cordon bleu chef doing her food design. So I've done a lot of different things. Um, and literature has always been, I've always loved literature, um, all sorts of writing, poetry, plays, novels, you name it.
Did you have a favorite teacher in high school?
Actually, I did homeschool for high school.
Oh, you did? Oh my goodness. So your mom was
Yes.
your favorite teacher.
No, actually, there was always a thing, maybe we'll move back. Maybe we'll move back. So they wanted us to do American high school. So we actually did the same. It was like now you have virtual schools. In those days,
Mhm.
it was mail in. We did the same school that a lot of the movie stars' children did
Wow.
because movie stars' children and children who are stars can't go to school.
Yeah, they're all over the place.
We were in the same school as them.
Wow.
Like the Osmonds did our school.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool.
So it was yeah. So no, I was my own teacher. And my best teacher was my dad because he would lecture, he would tutor me in maths.
Yeah,
I had the best mathematics tutor in the world. So that was my favorite teacher was my dad.
that's so cool. I had
Hmm.
an opportunity to tutor my daughter when she was, I think, 14 or something. And
Right.
it was one day.
Hmm.
My son happened to be tied up with something else and he wasn't going to be able to help her. He was normally the person who helped her with math. And
Hmm.
so it was algebra that she was working on. And I was trying, I think she might have been 12, but it was algebra she was working on. And I was trying to get my bearings because it had been 40 years
That's hard.
since I had done algebra, right? And so I did the best I could to help her and all that. And at the end of it, I said, "So is there anything else I can do to help you?" And she goes, "Yeah, go get Michael."
It's hilarious. You know what I learned from that experience? My dad was because he was a professor at one point of
Yeah.
mathematics, okay, before he worked for SRI. And what I realized was when you have a good teacher,
Mhm.
you can learn. I got so good at maths that I didn't think I was naturally good at maths. And I remember thinking, it's the coach. You
Yeah.
see, now I'm a coach. I think that also made me realize, if you have the right teacher, you can get good at anything
Yeah.
because it was really just because he was tutoring me on it patiently. And I thought, wow, I've really gotten quite good at this. And I wouldn't have said I was like naturally, I was always good at maths, but I wasn't like the maths whiz, you know? Um, and I thought, wow, I really got good at this because I had the right teacher.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love
Mm,
that. So after high school, homeschool, right? After high
hmm.
school,
Hmm.
you end up deciding to go to college. Where do you
Hmm.
go and why?
Well, I was very much into art and
Mhm.
I always was drawing and I really liked fashion. And so I was already during drawing, making fashion drawings and all sorts of drawings. Even when I was like 13, I remember, I would do all that. And I really liked the creativity of clothes. And I thought, well, now I was thinking of going, and by the way, these are my paintings. I was thinking of going to just art school. And I remember thinking, if I go to art school, like how do you make a living out of that?
Yeah.
Like you gotta, it's hard. And I
Mhm.
thought, that's not really a career choice, really, because that's like saying I want to be a starving artist my whole life, you know? So, and the funny thing is, then I went into being a starving artist after the fact when I was like an actor type. But I thought, fashion is art and it's design and it also is a job.
Mhm.
So I went into that. But in those days, there was no career day. There was no like, hey, why don't you go work at a fashion place for a week or two and be an intern to see what really goes on? We never did
Right.
that. You just went to college and then you did the whole years and then you got out and you got a job and it was like, oh, this is not really what I wanted. Right. Do you remember those days? Like it wasn't, when I think about how stupid it was,
Yeah.
the whole system of lack of transparency. I mean, why did it take them so long to say, why don't we have interns come in before they learn it all and see what it really is like to be a lawyer or this? Because, most people, if they went and looked at a law firm for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, they would not do law.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I'm not doing this, right?
Yeah.
So I did all that. And, it was good because learning design is teaching you critical thinking. It's
Mhm.
like engineering. You're engineering the patterns and there's numbers there and fabrics and what's going together and everything. And also the dynamics of being on a human body and movement. So it's not just drawing a picture, because often people would draw pictures and the lecturers would be like, okay, that is never going to be able to be possible on a human body. So it was all that problem solving.
Mhm.
So from there, I realized later on that did train me for problem solving and many other things in my life, because
Yeah.
it's how do we solve the problem of which furniture we're putting somewhere, or
Mhm.
color schemes, or fitting stuff in, or designing stuff, or even production, because I used to make films. Producing the film is moving things around. It's all, to
Like a
me,
puzzle.
yes, everything in my life, I realized the way I see it is just a bunch of things you're moving around into boxes. That's
Mhm.
how I think. And I thought everybody thought like that, but apparently not. It's really, that's all it is. It's like, where does that go? That goes here. And it's even thoughts go here or here or here. So it's really about things being moved around into boxes. So that did teach me that. I did work in the industry for a couple years and I hated the industry. It was just so toxic at that time. And it was just a bunch of people taking drugs. And I thought, well, I didn't do an industry to be around a bunch of people taking ecstasy,
Yeah.
because I'm not going to do that. So, and it seemed like all they cared about was making enough money to buy, to buy a Mercedes. And I thought, oh, well, I have bigger ambitions than, and there's a lot of fakeness in the industry, So apart from the actual creativity, which is great, because I was a designer and I was a production manager and a quality controller at a very young age, kind of got burnt out kind of early. And I thought, do I really want to do this for the rest of my life? So that's when I went traveling. And I thought, I'm just going to like go traveling and, do some acting and, and that was when that whole very unstructured part of my life took place, which went on for quite a while, I must say, like 8 years.
Wow.
All right. Yeah. It was just, but would I give that back? No, because I've done a lot of things that people dream of doing, and that's having an unstructured life for a while.
So were you just moving around from place to place?
Oh, no, I did some traveling. Okay, I stayed in England for like 8 months or so, and then
Yeah.
went back to Australia for a bit, and then I'd traveled a bit, and then I literally lived in Paris for 6 years.
Wow.
And I was trying to get acting work. I was teaching English. It was really living on the edge, because
Mhm.
it was just all under the table. And I was trying
Right.
to get my I was trying to get my papers there, but they kept changing the laws, and they had an amnesty. We tried again, but I didn't get in the amnesty, for immigrants, and so all of that. And finally, I just thought, I can't live like this anymore. I have to just go somewhere where I'm paying taxes. I want to pay tax. People laugh when I say that. But I want to be on record. You don't just want to be clandestine your whole life. And it wasn't working, but it was an experience. I learned a lot about art and culture and all sorts of stuff. And I did a lot of things, but I thought this is not, I got to start thinking about stability now. So would I change that? No, no. I did it and I ended up doing a bunch, I'm successful now and we're well cared for. So in the end, it was all good. I caught up.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So at some point, you make a decision to become a coach. Can you talk about that for a second, like that mindset? The reason I'm asking is there are people that are listening to this that are thinking about making a change like that. They're thinking about becoming a coach. They're thinking about doing a number of things, right? One of the things that we've heard since we started this was we've inspired people to start a book, start a podcast, do all kinds of things, right? And it's because of your story. It's
Mhm.
because of people hearing from you about what it was that you went through, and they're connecting with it. They're finding themselves in your story. So
Mm.
can you talk about for just a second sort of the
Mhm.
mindset that went into making the decision to become a coach, and then what did you experience becoming one?
Okay, so to be really honest, I had been thinking about coaching, but I didn't be a life coach, and I didn't feel I could because I wasn't living my best life.
Okay.
And I can't do that because that is hypocritical. You know what I mean? Like, you can't be a life coach unless you sort of fixed your own life already. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be perfect, but you can't be living in something that's like not your real life. And
Right.
I wasn't in the best place. I thought, well, I can't coach people on no, because it's hypocritical because
Mhm.
I haven't done it on myself. So, but then when I got out of a situation that wasn't true to myself, I thought, well, now I might not be a success, but I'm living an authentic life right now.
Mhm.
Haven't made it, but it's authentic. It's authentically not where I wanted to be yet. I'm not making but at least I wasn't living a lie. I
Right.
wasn't in the wrong relation. I wasn't in a relationship where I was just like, what am I doing here?
Mhm.
Okay. So that you can't do that. You can't have a life that's so not aligned and then be coaching people on being aligned and having. So I just can't do that. So I thought, well, I can't be a coach because my life's a mess. When I got to a point where at least it was at a point of authenticity,
Mhm.
I thought, you know what? I could coach people because I could coach them, just be yourself and it's all going to work out because it's starting to work out. Okay. So I had two very young children at that point, newly on my own. And I thought, okay, what do I do? I was already, let's see, I was 46. My daughter was 1 and one was 4.
Mhm.
Okay. And I thought, well, I need to I was in New York City too, which I don't know if you know New York City, but that is another whole hustle. Okay. And I'm thinking, okay, I got to make some money now because I'm
Mhm.
on my own. And what do I do? And I thought, okay, I got to go through every single thing that I could possibly do to make this work. So it's just about engineering. I thought, okay, let's go through a list. What are my options? So I started a kids blog. Okay. It became well known in 3 months all over the world. Great. Was it bringing a lot of money in? No. But it got me out there. I got invited to all these sort of galas and people sent me loot nonstop. My kids were the best dressed poor kids in New York.
Mhm.
Okay. And it was great. And it got me some confidence that when I was learning to post content every day, people loved my content because I have taste. And it was about crafts and fashion and things to do with kids. And we had different people from different countries. And it was great. But, I got a bit of advertising and I got a lot of free loot. And I thought, well, okay, this is not gonna, but it got me out there and it got my confidence back up. And people knew who I was. They're like, oh, you have Bellissima Kids? I'm like, yeah. How did I not know about it? And I'm thinking, because I just started it. But I somehow created this buzz and
Yeah.
and all these fashion places wanted me to blog and I'd get a little bit of money, here and there. Like here's $150 to post about us. We got a lot of free loot. I guess, we would have bought clothes. I didn't really need designer clothes, but and then a little bit of advertising. And I thought, okay, this is great. Got me out there. It's gotten me something to do. It got me more confidence and posting on social media, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
It's not going to support us. So what do I do now? I thought, okay, hmm, coaching. I've demonstrated already that I had nothing and I built up this kids blog and it's very well known all around the world and I've monetized it a little bit. That's pretty successful to start from nothing and do that. So
Mhm.
people already saw me as successful, which it's not just the money, right?
Mhm.
Because that's hard. There weren't that many top kids blogs at that point. And people were like, oh, I want to meet you and, come and look at our fashion range, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I thought, I could coach. So that's what I did because I thought, well, I can, do phone coaching and
Mhm.
I can still take care of my kids. And I thought this is the solution. That's all I can really do. So I got certified as a life coach. And I thought because I was certified, for about 1 week, I thought, well, I'll probably get some clients. And I already started talking to people about it. Like,
Mhm.
hey, this is what I do. And at the park, everywhere. I already knew just to talk about it. But about 1 or 2 weeks after I had gotten my certification, I was with a friend in the park with her kid. And my kid, I said, guess what? I said, I got certified as a coach. And she went, oh, who's your business coach? Right away. I said, business coach? She went, oh, you didn't think you were going to like build the business on your own, did you? And I said, oh, and I didn't miss a beat. One thing I am is not slow. And I went, got it. And she goes, well, I could coach you on that. And I said, who's your coach?
Hmm.
And she went, I hired her coach. In fact, her coach was hired before I even spoke with her. I'd
You
already
hired her
decided,
coach.
okay, I hired her coach. I wanted somebody better than her.
Oh, that's
Okay.
awesome.
I figured, she goes, oh, you're not dumb. So she was hoping she'd get a coaching class. I said, no, who's your coach? I think jump it, get your coach. So her coach was hired in my mind. I'd already made the decision before I even met her. This
Wow.
is, I don't kick tires. This is part of my success. I don't mess around.
Yeah.
I thought this needs to work, and she's right. So who's your coach? Please introduce me. When I got on the call with the coach, I was like, how do I hire you? She went, I said, I don't need a sales call. We don't need to do blah, blah, blah. Just how much? She goes, okay, well, it's like 10K. I said, okay. She goes, you know what? She goes, I heard your story because I was a struggling single mom with no money. She said, I'm amazed by you. She goes, I'm going to give you a little bit of a discount, even though you haven't asked for it. I said, great, even better. She gives me a bit of a discount just because she's thinking this woman's amazing
Mhm.
and gets it. And I hired her, and I had started coaching, and I managed to pay her off in a few months. Okay. That
Wow.
was just starting the learning process. But you know what happened? Right away, I was helping people make money in their businesses. It was not life coaching. It was life and business immediately. And she said to me, you know what? She goes, you are a natural business coach. You're talented at making people money. And I am. It's a gift. I wasn't making a lot of money for myself, but and she said, you're a business coach. And I said, okay, great. Business and life coach. So
Mhm.
that happened organically, which was great. And then I just kept going, and that was how it started.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. So we're going to take a break real quick. And when we come back, we're going to find out what the number one most important thing is that you've learned about being a coach. We'll be right back. Did you know there's an app that has no side effects that allows you to use sound waves to tell your brain what you want it to do? It's called newcalm.com, and it's amazing. It literally uses sound waves. If you want to tell your brain to go to sleep, if you want to tell your brain to recover, if you want to tell your brain to put you in peak physical state, if you want to tell your brain to focus, if you want to tell your brain to take a power nap, you can do all of these things and more with newcalm.com. Go to newcalm.com today, promo code Mike15. Newcalm.com, promo code Mike15 for an extra 15% off. Go there today. And we're back with Jeanne Omlor, and we're talking about coaching. We're talking about the fact that you became a coach and ended up hiring a coach that was the coach of somebody that approached you about being your coach, right? I mean, what a deal. And you actually had already in your mind hired that person before you ever talked to him.
Yes.
Absolutely amazing. So now that you're a coach, what's the number one most important thing that you've learned being a coach to people and helping them take their business to the next level? And
There's so Mike, there's so much. When you just asked that, I thought, where do I start? So the number one, whew, um, the number one thing is this. All people want is to know what is in it for them.
Okay.
How, and I mean that in a good way. I mean, all they want to know is, how can you help me?
Mhm.
How can you help me? How much is it going to cost me? And is it going to be worth it? That's all they don't care about all those bells and whistles. All they want to know is, I need help. Are you the one? Show me. Are you the one? How much? And let me see, that's going to make sense. Sure. That's all. That's what I've learned. And I think that is about everything. That's everything we sell. People, there's all this disingenuous selling going on, like manipulation. No, all people want to know is, what do you got? Is it going to help me? Is it
Mhm.
amazing? Is it just amazing? And if it is, okay, how much? And yeah, that is worth the amazingness you're going to give me. Sure, I'll take it. That's what I've learned. People just want help, and they want to trust the person that's doing it, and they want to know that you're not going to rip them off and it's going to be worth it. And you're going to do what you say. That's what I've learned.
It's amazing. 35 years ago, I was certified in sales mastery by Tony Robbins.
Wow.
And I did not know what sales was until I met Tony.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is so the crux of sales is, what does your prospect need?
Mm-hmm.
And how can you, with your product, help them satisfy whatever that need is?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I heard it said the other day, and I thought this was perfect. A babysitter doesn't sell babysitting services.
No.
A babysitter sells a peaceful night away
Yes.
at
With
dinner
no worry.
or romance, or right, an opportunity to get away
Mm-hmm.
and enjoy yourself and have sort of a mental and emotional respite for a little bit.
Right. And
That's
also,
what they sell.
also peace of mind that they're not going to drown the kids by accident.
Yeah.
Right. That the trust. Okay. Are they good? Okay. So we trust this person,
Yeah.
because you can't be out at your date thinking, oh my gosh, that babysitter was a little bit suspect. Maybe the kids are not safe. Right. It's
Right.
also peace of mind of the trust, right? They're selling that too.
So what's the most important thing that people are looking for from a coach? Is it different for everybody?
Obviously people are a bit different. They're not
Yeah.
all the same, but I'd say across the board, they want to know that you're there for them,
Mhm.
that you're on their side, that you're going to coach them and care. And I kept hearing this recently. One of my clients today, he said, thank you for coaching me on that, because that's why I hired you. He said, I thought, wow, this woman actually cares. That's what they want. They
Can you
want
give
to
us an
know.
example?
Yeah, the example is that we have unlimited one-on-one. It's a generosity-based model. I'm a multi-million dollar coach, and all of my clients can reach out and say, hey, I want to get on a one-on-one with you. And there's no like one or two, whatever they need. Okay. The other thing is they can message me whenever they want on Facebook Messenger, and I will answer them. If I'm not talking to you, I'm not going to answer that person that just texted me a minute ago,
Right.
because I'm on a podcast or I'm on a sales call or I'm coaching somebody. But as soon as I get something from a client, I answer it as soon as I can. And he said that I had never heard that before. Nobody does that. He said, I thought, wow, this woman actually cares about this working, to be available. And she doesn't care about her boundaries. And I have boundaries. They're just different. Okay. The thing of the coaches that have to have such huge boundaries because they're so afraid of being taken advantage of. Well, nobody takes advantage of me. I want to help. So he said that I'd never heard that before. And that's why I hired you, because I want to be that kind of coach. So I structured something for him as his offer. He said, that's what I wanted, where they know that I'm there for them. I said, well, there it is. And because I also craft people's offers of what they're delivering.
Mhm.
He said, thank you, because that is what I wanted. I wanted to be like you, that they say to themselves, the way I said, and he just volunteered this. He said, the way I saw it was, she cares. Wow, that's rare. That's got goosebumps. So I've heard that a lot. And I thought, wow, they want to know you care. That's all they want to know, that you actually care when you take their money and you run the credit card. That's a really bad feeling when your credit card is run and you know that the person providing a service really does not care. It's the worst feeling in the world. And I've had that feeling many, many times.
Yeah.
With many things. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So in your coaching practice, would you say there's one challenge that people have more than any other?
You know what I'd say? I'd say the major challenge is mind over emotions.
Okay.
That's the biggest challenge for everybody. Okay. Because if you could just do the work without all that mind trash getting in your way of just doing the work. Okay. But it's really just the mind trash and the emotions and, oh, I'm going to be afraid of being rejected. Because if you pretended you were a bot, and I don't suggest people use bots in their marketing. I don't use them. Okay. Well, are they thinking, gee, this is going to be so hard? No, AI just does it, right? They just do it. They do the work. So, and actually, who was talking about this was Tim Grover. You know, relentless guy. Did you read his book, Winning?
Yep.
He was talking about it in Winning. You know, every time I read one of these books of his, which is just 2 now, I'm just like, wow, he just says exactly what I think and I've thought the whole time. It's very validating for me because I've been talking about this for years with my clients about you need to master your emotions. I'm not the only one, but you need to master your emotions to do the actions you need to do. Because if you don't master your emotions, oh, that's too hard. Oh, that's going to feel bad if I get rejected, if I do the sales call. Oh, I shouldn't have to work this hard because, you know, really successful people work 3 hours a day. All of that stuff, they got to just master that. I'm not saying be emotionless in your life. I'm just saying the rock stars are the people that eventually master their emotions every time. So that's the real global challenge for all business people.
I love that. And I need to ask you something about it. So Tim used to be the coach to privately to Michael Jordan.
Yes, and several others, Kobe Bryant.
What
Yeah.
what an amazing, I mean, how much do you think of what he teaches he learned from them?
After hearing how bad he was at his interview with Mike when they first met, I would say an awful lot.
Yeah.
Because
That's the impression I get. The impression
no.
I get
Oh,
is that he learned more from them than they did from him.
well, what happened was what I picked up was he knew his stuff as far as the body because he had had many injuries. So he understood something Michael had not understood because Michael had not sustained that level of injury and fixed it. Okay. So Michael actually hired him on a fluke. He had reached out to every single member of that team except for Michael because he didn't dare. Michael found his letter in a team member's locker and read it.
Yeah.
What luck,
Yeah.
right? Oh my God. I'm like, wow, I wish I had that kind of luck.
And Michael wanted to know why he wasn't approached.
Yeah.
He wasn't happy about the fact that Tim had approached everybody other than Michael. Michael wasn't happy about that.
That was one of the reasons why he hired him, probably. Is how dare you not reach out to me?
Well, but his whole thing was, you should have reached out to me first.
Right. But he didn't dare.
Right.
Right. But that made it more exclusive. It was FOMO, actually.
But there's a lesson there.
There is a lesson there. Stop worrying about what people think about you and just do it.
Yeah.
The other thing was Michael wouldn't have wanted anybody else on that team to hire him. If he did not hire him exclusively, he was worried somebody else might. Yeah. Because he thought the guy sounded pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
Right? That was the strategy. He had an exclusive. He wasn't allowed to coach anybody else. Because Michael Jordan was a brilliant person. It wasn't just about the basketball. You know that, right? Yeah. So the fact that he turned up with Converses on to meet Michael Jordan and not even track shoes, Michael Jordan just went, oh no. Because he was, quite a rude person apparently. And then when he thought, okay, I'm going to take them off and he had a hole in his socks, that's not excellence. And then he kind of put them back on. Michael gave him another chance though and said, never again, meaning don't you ever come, that better not happen again. Right. So yeah, no, I think he learned a lot from Michael Jordan, and he did help Michael Jordan with the whole kinesiology thing because he did know about that. Yeah. So that was a good team, but no, he learned so much from Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was just very like when you hear about how he lived, how can anybody live that way? It's just so regimented, right?
So I remember the story about the hole in the sock and the Converse and all that, right? That's standards.
Yes, it is.
That's standards.
Yes, it is.
And Michael always had those standards for everybody that was around him too, like his teammates and that kind of thing. And not everybody got along with him. Not everybody liked him that much.
No, they say he was a jerk, actually.
Because he was constantly right. Forcing them.
Right.
But you find anybody, I mean, Junior Seau is a perfect example, right? You look at anybody who has succeeded and exceeded at a high level, they're pushing the people around them that are on their team to get them there. The Tiger Woods of the world, Tiger's not a very nice guy when it comes to competition, right? Not a very nice guy when it comes to the people that he surrounds himself with. Right. But it's on purpose,
Right. Well, Michael Jordan, apparently that was the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You find it with anybody who's achieved something at a very, very high level. They have very, very high standards.
Yes. Yes. And just how
There's a
they work
lesson
that.
there,
Well,
right?
there's a lesson there. I mean, I was just telling my daughter, you don't sit down to a desk that is not clean, that has crumbs. You clean your area first, and then you sit down and work. And I'm teaching her standards,
Yeah.
right? Because, teenagers, like, oh, it's fine. No, it's not. You're going to clean
So
that first before
I
you.
shared with my children when they were young, before they
Mhm.
were teenagers. I said, listen, when you become a teenager, you're going to challenge daddy's values.
Mhm.
It's what teenagers do.
Yeah.
Here's what I want you to know. You'd better be ready to bring it,
Right.
and you'd better be ready to lose,
Right.
because you're not going to challenge daddy's values and win as a
Mhm.
teenager. So just
Right.
be ready, be prepared to bring everything you have plus some, and be prepared to lose.
Right.
And we had a great time with them as teenagers.
Mm.
Okay. Because they were prepared. They knew what was coming.
Yeah.
And I just had a conversation yesterday. I was a featured speaker on a Q&A thing for an hour, and they were talking about parenting, and they were
Mhm.
specifically talking about how a parent can use the power of questions
Mhm.
to engage and to stay in front of their teenagers. And one of
Mm.
the things we talked about was one of the absolute worst things you can do when a teenager gives you the Heisman
Mhm.
or tells you to talk to the hand, right?
Mhm.
Is to just throw up your hands and say whatever and walk out the door,
Oh, yeah.
because you just lost that kid.
Mm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Parents need to stand their ground, and they need to
Mm.
continue to ask until the teenager ends up lowering the learned
Mm.
behavior, the
Mhm.
wall, the hand,
Mm.
whatever, right? And they actually answer the question.
Right. Right.
They're dying for you, literally dying. A lot of these kids are just in such a bad way because
Mm.
they need you to reach them. They need you to
Right.
stand your ground
Mhm.
and love them more than you love yourself.
Right.
It's a big deal.
It
And
is a
we
big
talked about
deal.
it extensively last night. And it's, when you're dealing with teenagers as a parent, you need to understand that a lot of their behavior is counterintuitive. They're
Of
not
course, because their
behaving the way.
brains are going
Exactly, right?
they're not
Well, they're
that's all over the
yeah,
place. It's like
they're
spaghetti in there.
exactly
Yeah.
right. It's just nuts. And it's
Mm.
not easy being a teenager, especially today. It wasn't
No.
easy when we were teenagers either, right?
Right.
So in coaching, you are currently working with people from all walks of life. Do you have a particular area that you specialize in, or is it just kind of all comers?
Okay, so we work with people all over the world,
Mhm.
all walks of life, um, and we have attracted a lot of high achievers.
Okay.
So there's people that come in, they do the work. We have several PhDs in there. We have a California state judge that's a decision coach. Not all of them have all the letters, but basically their mindset is high achieving. They come
Mhm.
in, they're serious, they want what they want, they know they need the help, they're going to do the work to get it. Very simple. No drama. I don't want drama. We've had drama, of course. We try not to get drama. It even says in my messages, no drama, because I don't want to attract people with. I do it on purpose to get rid of dramatic people, because
Right.
then they go, oh, she's not going to put up with drama. That's the reason. Um, and it's all sorts of coaches and also consultants and certain service providers. We've had financial advisors in there. I have an accounting consultant in there, accountant and consultancy. We've had digital marketing agencies, because what we're teaching is organic social media marketing. And now I've mastered how to vastly monetize podcasts. So we've added that, because that's another marketing avenue, which is organic, but
Mhm.
not social media organic. It's not considered social media, actually, unless it's on YouTube, I guess. So it's really any kind, we have focal point coaches, we have business executive, it's spiritual life coach, manifesting coaches, all sorts of men coaches. I've had crypto coach, real estate coaches, all sorts of people. I've even
Awesome.
had an insurance salesperson, because the organic worked for me. He said, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So it's really, we don't market to that, but certain people are smart enough to figure out, oh, this would work for me too. Would that work? I thought, yeah, it would actually work. I just don't like market directly to you guys. Can I come into your program? Sure. Why not? It's going to work. So it's really, again, it's been more high achievers lately, because I only want people in there that are going to do the work.
Right.
Because if you're not going to do the work, then what are we going to do? What's the point?
Right.
So People pretty much understand that when they speak with us before they come in. There's like we get serious people. So that's it. All sorts of coaches. And most of the time now, it is coaches that are just starting. I will start a coaching business with them, get their offer, what they're doing, price, messaging, branding messaging, 5-minute, Jeanne's 5-minute branding, I call it, and just get out there and help them to very simply get high ticket clients on social media without a lot of fanfare and ads and funnels and all that stuff. And none of this, go do something that's going to take you 3 years to build and come back when you're done.
Yeah.
That's just, I don't like that. A lot of coaches do that. Go do that really hard task because I know it's going to take you a while and you're out of my hair for a while. No, it's like, go get the client and then get another one. And now you have a business, high ticket. Because, most people, even if they sell 2 high ticket offers, that's considerable amount of cash coming in the door and they've started a real business.
Absolutely. No, I
Right.
totally agree with that. So if somebody's wanting to hire you or to interview you for potentially hiring you, how can they reach you?
Well, we have a lovely website, jeanneomlor.com. And actually, if you do jeanneomlor.com/reviews/ there's all of my client like stories. And they can also reach me through LinkedIn, Jeanne Omlor. I'm on Instagram and I'm on Facebook. I'm all over the place. And it's very simple. It's just my name.
Beautiful. So it's JEANNE and then OMLOR.
Correct.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience. This has been a lot of fun and a very fast time.
Thank you. It has been very fun and fast. You're right, Mike.
Can I ask you a question? Did you know that there's a technology that uses sound waves that'll tell your brain what to do? There literally is. It's called newcalm.com. It can tell your brain to heal, tell your brain to sleep, tell your brain to do all kinds of things. It can get you fired up. It can be a pre-workout. Newcalm.com. And the promo code is Mike15. Newcalm.com, promo code Mike15 for an extra 15% off. Go today.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at the Mike Litton Experience.